I think narcissism is probably a spectrum. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's hard to identify where the line is between unhealthy narcissism and more healthy narcissism. So it's really difficult to sort of put a pin on it when someone is too narcissistic to be in a power position, right? When does someone have a healthy level of narcissism so they can, be in that power position and not negatively affect a lot of the people around them?
Okay, so I think like we discussed with lots of things, it's a balance, right? It's a balance between, you know, a balance between those things. Okay, so with that, when is it a healthy level of narcissism or not? I think most of the time it's like the people that don't want to be in the positions of power probably should, and the people that really want to be in those positions of power probably shouldn't. I think that's a good indicator.
Yeah, good call.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like, it's funny because it's kind of like, that's not like necessarily obvious, but like, I think that really is part of it. Like, but then you realize like, okay, the people that don't really want to be, they're content doing, other simpler stuff. And it's the people that really want that position of power are the ones who are going to do whatever they can to get there, which is why they end up there. And it's probably not the best thing. That kind of makes sense.
Absolutely. That's crazy, right? It's a crazy concept, but I tend to agree with you. Like, look at Rogan. Rogan would be a badass politician, but he doesn't want to fucking do it because he's too smart to not want to do it, right? But he would be really good in that power position.
Yes, I tend to agree with you, but at the same time, I don't know. I don't know if he's too smart. I feel like part of the problem is that, and we've discussed this before about like governments and businesses and corporations and countries and things like that. They're these power structures power structures is probably the better way to say it, that can persist throughout time, greater than the lifespan of a human, right? So governments are a power structure that if you, as a human, as a person, can get into a position within that, allows you to amplify and project massive amounts of power, greater than what you could, sort of obtain by yourself without that structure. And so then it becomes like a competition to get into these positions. And so part of that with Rogan is, I think, like part of getting into government, the rest of it is like you actually have to abide by their rules to a degree. You have to play their game. You sort of, part of it is like they won't let you in there in a position of power unless you're going to play by those kinds of rules. If that makes sense. This is like a thing that we saw with Donald Trump, like when he started to try and expose a bunch of stuff, corruption and things, what did he call it? The swamp or whatever, or the cesspool. They, like, the whole system sort of went against him. And so it's like an immune system, And so I think when you meant to say Rogan's too smart, like I think he probably wouldn't do the politics. That's probably like why he wouldn't, is because he's like, it's not worth it. Like maybe you need a different kind of way of going about it. Like, is the system even reformable? Is getting someone that gets it, or, like has a different allure to power, doesn't necessarily want that power, putting them in that position, will that solve it? I don't fucking know. I feel like I just tied myself in a knot with all of that. But anyway, it's an interesting concept, but I think our incentive systems are a bit messed up at the moment. If that makes sense.
No, absolutely, bro. Like look at, if we look at the left and the right, as soon as we'll just say the right gets into power, right? Then the left is doing everything they can so the right doesn't, get the policies in place that they want to make, the changes that they want to make. And then when the left is in power, the right does the exact same thing. So every time, like let's take a ship, for example, right? To turn a ship around, it takes a lot of work to try and turn the ship around. And as soon as the right gets into power, they might be able to dial it like this, but the whole time the left is trying to keep it going this way. So it's very hard to turn the ship around. It's very difficult to make significant changes because there's this constant battle between left and right. But all at the same time, the real power structure, the corporations, the what's it called, the industrial complex, the military
Yeah,
industrial
military industrial
complex.
complex.
Yeah,
Countries.
yeah, and like BlackRock, Vanguard, who own pretty much fucking everything now. They're the ones calling the shots, really. So, this whole left versus right is just a clown show at this point. But it's really hard to vote somebody in and then get like significant changes done when all of this, yeah, when there's like fucking circus going on. And all in the meanwhile, like I
Yeah.
said, these big corporations are the ones pulling all the strings.
And on top of that, like when the people you can pick from are people who are wanting this power, and by our sort of definition that we just discussed, it's like that they probably shouldn't be the ones in the position of power. Like you kind of need a system that inverse does it. Like you've got all these people that are running or whatever they really want. It's like, how do you find the people that really don't want to run? Because they're not requiring all of this external gratification or they're not seeking that power, but they would really be a good fit because they really don't want it. Like, and they, if that makes sense. I don't know. It's a weird sort of inverse problem.